Hello and welcome to another edition of Nation Building. On our program, we examine the political, social, and moral issues in the leadership of the Bahamas. And today on our program, we're privileged to have a very special guest, someone who is now involved in the leadership of our country, serving as a minister. We'll introduce our guest right after this break.
I've been a customer for the past 2 years, and I will say the quality of the service is very good. During my trip to Andros, I was connected the entire trip, so that was really good. I was able to contact my family members and let them know how the trip was going. We touched land, we're here, so it was very good, and I really appreciate that. And also during times like when we had the storm, it was really good to have that service to reach out to our loved ones to make sure everyone is okay. And I really appreciate Alive for that. And even when there's a little technical difficulty, they always send out a little text message to let us know exactly what's going on. I'm happy to be alive, and I believe in best.
Hello.
Did you get it?
Yes, baby. I got it.
Don't come home without it.
These arms of mine, they are yearning for wanting you.
Where is it?
Strongback is distributed by Jamaica Bahamas Import and is available at your favorite food or convenience store nationwide. For more information, call 341-4091 in Nassau and 351-8282 in Freeport.
Who said you can't get great quality products at an affordable price? If you want the best quality food products at the most affordable prices, you must pick up the Jamaica Bahama brand of fine quality products at your favorite food store. Products like Jamaica Bahama Coconut Water, the most healthy and refreshing drink on the market. Jamaica Bahama Fruit Punch, the only fruit punch in the Bahamas made from real fruit. Jamaica Bahama Coconut Milk, green pigeon peas with coconut milk, condensed milk, kidney beans with coconut milk, corned beef, green pigeon peas, mackerel, and corn. Jamaica Bahama's fine line of products is available at all your favorite food stores and convenience stores nationwide. Telephone 351-8282 in Freeport and 341-4091 in Nassau.
I don't wanna win. No, I don't wanna win.
Welcome back to Nation Building. I'm your host, Winston Pinnock, and I'm privileged today to be here with, as I mentioned earlier, a minister of the Free National Movement's government, the Minister Administration, Mr. Renward Wells. Welcome to our program, sir, and thanks for coming again.
Thank you, sir, for having me. It's truly a pleasure to be here, and I just want to say a hearty to the Bahamian people, the people whom I consider the most creative, innovative, passionate, bold, and most beautiful people on the planet, and that is the Bahamian people. When last I was on your show, I was actually a candidate in the last election, and I'm happy to be back. That the Bahamian people would have decided to bless me once again in putting that mantle of servanthood over me, that I'm able to serve their interests and to seek to move this country from where it is to where they would want it to be.
Wonderful. And you certainly, since you've been here, a lot has happened. You were appointed in May of last year, 2017, Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources. The first question I have to ask is, many people I talk to that know you as a good Christian gentleman, upstanding family man, with a brilliant mind, didn't expect you to be in Ministry of Agriculture. Were you disappointed?
No, I was not disappointed at all. You know, the Prime Minister decides where he wants someone to serve in his cabinet. And at the end of the day, he calls you in, as is with the Westminster system, and you can either say yay or nay. I was willing to serve in any capacity that he would have asked. And truth be told, Mr. Pinnock, I had preached a number of things during the course of my political career. I always started off with food security. I always spoke about food security, energy security, 21st century education, economic empowerment for the Bahamian people, and the deepening of our democracy. Those are the 5 things that I was in a third party movement and throughout my political career that I have spoken to. What I found interesting was the Prime Minister appointed me in the area of which I speak about first, which is food security. He made me the Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resource, but he did something else as well. He also made me leader of government business in the House. So I am responsible for deepening the democracy, which is another part of something that I've been preaching about. And so at the end of the day, I was not disappointed. Coming into agriculture, I see the need for the kind of revolutionary thinking in that sphere, because at the end of the day, when you look at a nation that spends about $1.3 billion in food, and then we import an awful lot, and not that we'll ever get to a point where, because there's no nation on the earth that doesn't import. But at the end of the day, when you look at from the standpoint that we produce about 8% of what we eat, just 8%, there's an awful lot of opportunities to grow the domestic agricultural industry and even to grow the industry of marine resource, the fisheries as well.
Interesting. Minister, you mentioned that you serve as leader of government business in the House. You were also leader of opposition business, weren't you not?
Yes, I was.
While you were in opposition.
Yes, I was.
Good. And so now that would not be surprising that you were leading opposition business and now I'm leading government business. One of the things, before we get into the meat of what I've prepared, which I'm sure we won't get through, that I must say to you, well, first of all, let me ask, have you been on any television program since you got elected?
I think I've not been on a television program.
But
I've been interviewed.
You've been interviewed.
I've been on radio talk shows, but I've not been on a television program.
So this is your first opportunity to look at the Bahamian people nationally and to talk to them, and we're privileged to have you. I must say that you are making somewhat of a history on our program because you are the first minister in the administration to come on our program. And I wonder out loud, what is it that we do here in trying to serve the Bahamian people that your colleague ministers don't appreciate, in that we are seeking to provide information to the public, and that's all we do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I do too is I tell you, it is difficult. I had a healthy respect for the job of a minister. Now that I am a minister, I have an even deeper appreciation and understanding, especially when you would have come into government in the kind of situation we have and seeking to do the things that we're seeking to do. It's an awful lot of work. And at the end of the day, I have turned down an awful lot of opportunities to appear, because at the end of the day, it either conflict with a cabinet meeting, a House of Assembly meeting, or even just a meeting within my ministry. But having said all of that, I'm going to endeavor to ensure that more of my colleagues are out there speaking to the Bahamian people, because I think after we're fast approaching May 10th, after a year, I think a lot more of us should be out there speaking to the Bahamian people about what we met, what we have done so far about what we met, but more importantly, what we intend to do in this upcoming budget debate that's going to be pivotal to the future of this country in June, as to where it is that we should be going.
Having said that, Minister, do you see, and this will be the last question on this issue because it is a topic that is sensitive to me and to many others in media, do you see, though, the need for healthy balance in balancing schedule and the responsibilities you have and taking free opportunity, I might add, publicity? You are an agent of government and you serve us, the people, to be able to share the thought, what you're doing, so that people would feel comfortable in knowing that our government is working for us, and mediums such as these create that opportunity.
Very much so. And, we are an open and transparent government. We've preached that. And there's no better way to be open and transparent than to actually sit down in an interview with the cut and thrust of questions so that the Bahamian people will be able to adequately assess what you're saying and what is being done so that they can get a more full appreciation and not allow the echo chamber of the Fourth Estate to determine the people's viewpoint, that we ought to be out there crafting it, shaping it, answering, speaking to it, so that the people get an understanding of where we are, but more importantly, where we intend to go. And that has to happen.
Wonderful. And
we have to be the individuals.
And you have stated that as well as anybody can. Minister, your government has been in office for a year now. And I must say that it is a reasonable point of view by anyone that is not partisan that this is the first time in our country's history that the Bahamian people have been so, for a lack of a better term, impatient with their government developing its agenda. And so that discomfort, to put it mildly, that we see and hear as we move around, I want you to explain to me from your viewpoint whether you believe that people are simply unreasonable with this impatience, or is it that your government have failed to either articulate to the people what you're doing, or that you simply just have not done enough to satisfy the Bahamian people at this point?
That's an excellent question, and I've said this before. What we're experiencing is more of a social, emotional effect, if I can put it that way. And what do I mean by that? The Progressive Liberal Party won the election in 2002. Any objective political observer would say that by 2006, 4 years into their term, the Bahamian people had given up on them and wanted something else. The Bahamian people gave that administration 4 years. By 2006, they wanted to see the back of the Christie administration. They voted for the Free National Movement in 2007. In 2007, by about 2010, 3 years into the F&M administration, when they had a by-election in Elizabeth, and 1/3 of the respondents stayed home, that was a clear indication that the Bahamian people was fed up. Remember, that election was down the line. It was won by one vote, really. It went to court. The court had to decide on some things. Okay? Ryan Pinder became the member of parliament at the time. So 3 years in to the F&M administration, the Bahamian people had written them off and sat around and waited 2 years to see whether there would be fundamental change. They didn't accept it. The roads were a problem. BTC was an issue. They voted the Free National Movement out. They voted the PLP in.
Of which you were
in 2012,
a part at the time.
Of which I was a part. I said then to the PLP colleagues that I had, I said, the Bahamian people are going to give us 2 years. And after that, depending on what we do, they're either going to re-elect us or they're going to get rid of us. 2 years into Perry Christie's last term, when we dealt with gaming and all these other issues that the Bahamian people say, we ask you, we tell you what to do and you go on and do your own thing.
But just to be clear, Minister, weren't you a part of that gang that said, we will go against the wishes of the Bahamian people?
No, I didn't vote for that. I was not a part of I did not vote in the House of Assembly to go against the wishes of the Bahamian people. I thought that was a mistake. I said it then. And I was one of those few persons.
Renegades?
Who also, well, there was 3 of us. Out of the 3 of us who were the renegades, Renward Wells, Andre Wallens, and Greg Moss, I happen to be the only one who was left standing.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, there were 3 of us who were constantly the canary in the coal mine, who kept saying to the Progressive Liberal Party, you're going down the wrong road. The Bahamian people do not want this. Here's what ought to take place. So about 2 years into the PLP's administration, the Bahamian people had written them off. And they didn't do anything to change that.
And aren't you afraid now that they might be writing off your
That's the point I was getting to.
Year?
That is why I was saying we're getting to the social emotional effect. 4, 3, 2, 1 year. I told, when I joined the Free National Movement, I said to them, I said, listen, we have a people who, it is an analogy, but it's an analogy that's understood by all globally. If you have an abused individual who's been through so many opportunities of trying, and they have a sense of hope every 5 years, and that hope keep getting dashed. The Bible says hope deferred makes the heart sick, okay? But a longing fulfilled
It's a tree of life.
is a tree of life. And what successive administrations have done is that they gave the Bahamian people hope, but it was not fulfilled. And so at the end of the day, the Bahamian people's patience with hope is about this much. So they gave this Free National Movement government 1 year. We're fast approaching it. They've given us 1 year. But the beauty about this is we have to speak to our people, get them to understand where we are. More importantly, get them to understand where we're going. And do not seek to aggravate, irritate any of their fundamental plantings or positions that they currently have, while we seek to right the economy of the country and empower them in ways they desire to be empowered. And that's what we sought to do. And as a government, I believe we wanted, when we came in, we did not expect to meet what we have met.
Every government in the last 20 years have made that statement. You agree?
I agree.
And so the Bahamian people are too tired of government saying to them when you get in office, I didn't know that this is what I would expect. I hear a lot of that from the people.
Yeah. But I will tell you this, Brother Pinnock, other governments would have come in and said that, but no government met what we met. That is a fact. And we put it out there to the Bahamian people. We met on day one of cabinet a bill. First government in the history of the Bahamas, a bill that needed to be paid $400 million.
And what was that?
Not $4 million. We had contractors who were owed monies. We had debt payments. We had commitments the Progressive Liberal Party had made that was sitting on the table that had to be paid. The bank with the overdrafts. And so the decision had to be taken right there and then. We gonna pay this or we ain't gonna pay it. It's no choice. The government of the Bahamas can't default, so you got to pay the bill.
So you
we
went
had
to
to
borrowing?
We borrowed initially, if the people would remember, $400 million, of which the opposition did not disagree. They agreed. They knew what was there.
And they argued that they did the same thing when they came to office in 2012.
But when they came in, it was 200. I was there. It was 200 million. And what they ended up having to borrow was some 300 million in addition, because remember the budget deficit at the time was $512 million according to the Progressive Liberal Party. But what was our budget deficit? We had to borrow 400 initially, and the PLP, we ended up having to borrow another 322 to meet the commitments in the following year. So altogether, we had a budget deficit we met from the former administration of some $722 million. Now, during the campaign, we said, thinking, as you would rightfully say, Better Pinnock, every government meets. That's a campaign year. We know you was going to spend. You was going to give some things to your generals so we can come in. We expect the outside number to be about 300 million. But when you end up with 722 million, that is that throws all of the planning that you intended, all of the things you wanted to do for the Bahamian people. You have to now reassess in order to stop the bleeding and save the economy. You now have to put your minds together. And we have some brilliant minds around that cabinet table who are able to say, here's how we deal with this situation.
You're watching Nation Building. I'm your host, Winston Pinnock, and we'll be right back with the Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources.
The concierge service is the best thing ever. Like, it is so fabulous, especially for someone like me where I cannot leave my office, my job, to go do anything in the middle of the day because I'm on the radio. The service was so fabulous. The ladies gave me a call. They set up an appointment. They come with their professional looking attire. They're just so cute. And they come here, and it was a great experience. It took 20 minutes to switch over to the Alive service. It was simple. It was easy. And they just made me feel so welcomed. They explained everything. They hooked me up with my new phone. They gave me my data package. As you can see, hey. And it was fabulous. It was a wonderful service, but what I really liked best about it was not only did they come here and make it easy for me, but they continued to check up on me. The next day, they made sure that everything was working properly with the phone. I didn't have any issues. The following week, they contacted me again, and I've built a relationship with them. They've continued to check up on me. I feel like I'm part of the Alive family. It's amazing.
Hello.
Did you get it?
Yes, baby. I got it.
Don't come home without it.
These arms of mine, they are yearning for wanting you.
Where is it?
Strongback is distributed by Jamaica Bahamas Import and is available at your favorite food or convenience store nationwide. For more information, call 341-4091 in Nassau and 351-8282 in Freeport.
Who said you can't get great quality products at an affordable price? If you want the best quality food products at the most affordable prices, you must pick up the Jamaica Bahama brand of fine quality products at your favorite food store. Products like Jamaica Bahama Coconut Water, the most healthy and refreshing drink on the market. Jamaica Bahama Fruit Punch, the only fruit punch in the Bahamas made from real fruit. Jamaica Bahama Coconut Milk, green pigeon peas with coconut milk, condensed milk, kidney beans with coconut milk, corned beef, green pigeon peas, mackerel, and corn. Jamaica Bahamas' fine line of products is available at all your favorite food stores and convenience stores nationwide. Telephone 351-8282 in Freeport and 341-4091 in Nassau.
I don't wanna win. No, no, I don't wanna win.
Welcome back to Nation Building. I'm your host, Winston Pinnock, and of course, we're here today with the Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources, Mr. Renward Wells, who also serves as the leader of government business in the Minis administration. Mr. Wells, I know you want to pick up on where you left off on these borrowings, but I also want to quickly throw something at you. Some people in the country have said that there really is no difference between the two major political entities in the country, that of the PLP and the Free National Movement. And that, frankly, at the end of the day, it's just a matter of personality and leadership and really the styles that you have, of leadership style, really. You've had the privilege of winning and serving both sides as parliamentary secretary under the Christie administration, and now under the Minister administration serving as Minister of Works and, Agriculture, and Marine Resources. What is really the difference, having served in both political parties and under two administrations? Is it not a matter of just simply style and personality? And if not, what really is the difference between these two organizations?
I think from what I've seen, there is a difference in style and personalities, but you have the style and personalities on both sides. You have some who are a little bit more charismatic. But in leadership, you have some who are a little bit more charismatic, some who are not so charismatic. But I would say if a person was to ask me, I think it goes even more to philosophy, fundamentally. I think the Bahamian people would understand that the Progressive Liberal Party is that. It is much more of a liberal party, more in the mode of the Democratic Party in the United States. And this is how I want people to think.
But some say, I'm going to let you finish, but some say the opposite, that it actually has been, over the years, traditionally more conservative than the Free National.
Well, it may have been a little bit more conservative in terms of social
agenda.
Yeah, agenda. It was a little bit more socially conservative than the Free National Movement. The Free National Movement is more of a fiscal conservative party, right, and a little bit more of a liberal conservative, right. And then you would find inside the F&M, you have your social conservatives and you have your fiscal liberals. So you have a mixed bag. You find it also in the PLP. You have your social conservatives and liberal spenders, and then you have your conservative spenders and more liberal social.
So it really
conservative
boils
persons.
down to who is at the helm.
It boils down to who's at the helm, and really who are the vast majority of the people who sit around the cabinet table. That gravity of understanding as to where they sit, both in terms of their social conservatism or lack thereof, or their fiscal conservatism or lack thereof. And the Bahamian people should understand, we're a small nation. We're a nation of about 400,000 persons. You know, some say we have probably a population in the entire country of maybe 600,000, some 200,000, others who would have come from elsewhere, who work in the society, legally, illegally, however which way you want to put that. But as a people, we are very homogeneous in many, many ways. So you would expect that from your political parties as well. Bahamians, this is in the United States where I could go to Kansas, and the people in Kansas have a little bit different view than the people inside Alabama. Now you could go to Long Island. Long Islanders have a certain flavor, yes. You can go to Andros, there's a certain flavor. But by and large, Bahamians are Bahamians. And so it is the homogeneity of us as a people that translate itself into the political movement. I think where we go awry is that homogeneity also expects certain things to take place that they have been asking for, that they do not yet see resident in the society. And I think the largest thing that the Bahamian people have been asking for is a greater control of their own economy and to be integral parts of the owners of their economy. And the degree to which a political party is giving them that and causing them to feel like they are experiencing that is the degree to which that I honestly believe that they feel hope is being realized.
And that will require a significant mind change by our people. So,
yes.
But let's get on to your area specifically, which is the Ministry of Agriculture. Every minister that I know, Minister Wells, since the first Pinland administration, have promised food security to this country. And my question to you, sir, in light of the Bahamian people, as you said earlier, being fed up, to put it in a colloquial term, of the government's commitment promises that they have failed to keep, what is your commitment to the Bahamian people over the next 4 years if the Prime Minister allows you to remain as Minister of Agriculture in this whole idea of food security for the country?
My belief in terms of food security, I'll tell you, the global definition of food security is basically this. The UN says the definition of food security is as long as you could buy food from wherever. As long as a country can buy food that its people can purchase, that's food security. That's not my definition of food security.
And that's not the Bahamian people's
That's
definition.
not the Bahamian people's definition. The Bahamian people have a definition of food security that goes with another global term that has now entered the market over the past 10 years, and it is called food sovereignty. That's really where the Bahamian people are, food sovereignty. You have nations in Africa now that are beginning to talk about food sovereignty. You have nations in Ecuador passed a food sovereignty law and has even put it in their constitution, where they're seeking to have the indigenous foods that the Indians in Ecuador and others would have produced, the quinoa and the other things, as being the things that the nation promotes more of. And you have other countries now that are talking about food sovereignty. Now, this movement goes directly against WTO and the other global thinking that has taken root over the past 30, 40 years. So it's going to be interesting to see how this movement evolves and whether it survives. I am a food sovereignty kind of fella as well, but I also understand that we in the Bahamas will never be able to produce every piece of food that the Bahamian people eat. So my definition of food security, Brother Pinnock, is this, that we have, should there be a global pandemic around the globe that greatly impacts our capacity to import what we need.
As did in 9/11.
As did 9/11, that we could ratchet up or ramp up our domestic production to meet our needs, meaning we need to, in the Bahamas, identify, as they would have done in other countries on the globe, a major carbohydrate that we produce. In the United States, it is potatoes and corn. They produce some wheat, some rice. But in the US, it's potatoes and corn. That's their major carbohydrate. Their major protein is beef and chicken. Pork, to a lesser degree, and the other small ruminants. They have a plethora of things. So that's their protein source. They also get their fats and other things from those. Here in the Bahamas, we can't even identify what's our major carbohydrate that we produce. Now some people may say sweet potato. We eat a little bit of yam, but there is no major carbohydrate that we can point to, that we could say, here's what the Bahamian people are producing in mass. I want to be able to change that. There is no major protein source like we used to. We used to do chickens. We did some pigs, some sheep and goats. But Bahamians eat more chicken per pound than any other people on the planet. They say 100 pounds per person.
Some say we eat more of anything.
Precisely. And so I'm seeking, for me, food security is more getting the Bahamian people to be able to produce and have it available. The United States has this program where they have a strategic food reserve. If you see a global pandemic takes place and the United States cannot import food, they have a reserve of food where their nation can survive for about 7 months. I'm looking to see how we do that in the Bahamas. I'm calling it the Joseph Project, but before we could even get to the Joseph Project, we have to start producing.
So I was going to say, Minister, you have articulated well the problem and pointed to what other countries have done. And so on behalf of the people watching, what I want you to define is at this point, and I know it's still reasonably early in the administration, but at this point, give the people the nuts and bolts of what's going to happen onwards from in this year, 2018 onwards, under your watch. What are you prepared to do practically to begin to move in the direction that you've
spoken to? Excellent question. First off, we needed to have a strategic reset in agriculture. That's what I believe. There was such a disconnect between the Ministry of Agriculture and the farmers and the fishermen. So I said, okay, let us begin to talk. You need to tell me what your problems are. I need to tell you what I expect from you. So let's have that kind of conversation. So the first thing we did was we had a meeting with the farmers. We are now going to have a 2-day conclave, a convention for farmers in the country, where we speak to them about the new scientific kind of production processes that they can, that's available to them, whether it's greenhouse, hydroponics, aquaponics, all of these things, to show them backyard farming, how they can produce more from what they currently have. We want to introduce them to the program of BAMSI, and we even have some who are coming from outside. You know, Jamaica has done a fantastic job with its agricultural sector, and we're seeking to learn from some of our Caribbean neighbors as to how they were able to do what they have done. And so I want to be able to give that information to the farmers, and I want this convention to be an annual one. So we'll do it this year, we'll do it next year, and we'll do it on ad infinitum, because agriculture is not what I grew up doing in South Andros with my grandmother. We went out, we slash and burn, we burned the bush, then we threw the seed, we put the little pigeon peas in the ground, the trees came up, we harvested what we needed to, we depended on the rain to water it. There was no fertilizer other than the bush that we burnt. And so, but providing food has become a scientific undertaking. And I want to, as a scientist myself, introduce that science into agriculture and marine resource and get our farmers there to make them much more efficient. Brother Pinnock will never be able to produce 100% of what we are going to eat. We're always going to be importing, but we are only producing 8%. If I can double that to 16%, imagine what that means for the economic impact of money staying in the country. Even if I can increase it to 20%. So I see myself as laying the foundation first and then bringing greater efficiency to agriculture. And the exact same thing I'm going to do with the fishermen. We're having a meeting with the fishermen, and then in June we're going to have a 2-day convention with the fishermen so that we can let them know about new fishing techniques and how we
One of the crucial criterias in doing what you have a vision to do is that there is a labor component. Mm-hmm. You and I, Minister, know that by and large, the Bahamian people, we are not interested in tilling the soil. Yes. Notwithstanding the scientific approach and technology, equipment, and so forth, it's still it requires some labor, manual labor. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I was very deliberate about having a conversation with you today is this whole concept of that governments have failed in miserably over the years, which is some other countries have done, which is to accept that if your people, like in the United States where they use the Hispanics, the Mexicans and others to do these farms in California and other places, if we are going to move in the direction that you want us to move in, isn't it true that we have to come up with a policy that will allow for significant importation of labor for farmers in order for them to be able to produce more? Because when I had the privilege some years ago of serving in BAIC as deputy chairman, one of the challenges the Grand Bahama farmers pointed out was that they had lots of land, they couldn't find labor and couldn't get work permits. It was a difficult challenge to get work permits. And so it became a ridiculous approach. There was a lot of talk about it, but practically it seemed to me certainly that there had to be an approach of providing the farmers with the opportunity to go, whether it's to Haiti or to the Philippines or other countries, to get cheap labor to be able to come in to provide the kind of manual and service that they needed. Because at the end of the day, it's about cost. Sure. And we can't try to say that we're going to give the farmers land, even provide them with funding, and at the end of the day, the cost of producing corn or whatever other product that they want to produce, the cost of producing these products become, it's much higher than importing. And so Super Value or Solomon's or any other company, Sawyer's in Freeport or any of these companies will not purchase just to be sentimental. At the end of the day, they're competing, and what will excite the retailers in the country in terms of buying Bahamian is really having costs that can match or be cheaper than the imported foodstuff. And the imported foodstuff are coming in from countries like the US where foreign labor is driving that cost down.
Yes, and I won't disagree with your synopsis. The only thing I'd say is I would say that we have foreign labor. We have a vast pool of persons who are here illegally already that we're going to have to seek to do something with and about how we regularize them. We have a lot of persons in Andros already who are living in Andros, who are part of farms that have gone bust, who are still in Andros on some of that land. And the government is looking as to how we deal with that situation in a very holistic and humanitarian kind of way. So we have access to that kind of labor. And I think what we need to do, as I was speaking, Brother Pintock, about how we get agriculture going, a part of that too, the way you reduce your labor costs, is to mechanize a lot of your functioning, to bring in that kind of scientific understanding, whether you're using DH to push down, clear down the land, cut the soil, disc it. We're bringing in, we have some of that equipment already that we're putting on use, on loan for farmers in the country to help them get going. You could put a digital irrigation system in your field where people don't have to go out and manually
You still
water.
need labor though.
You still need the labor to be able to prune the plants and watch, and you're going to need that labor, and you need different kinds of labor at different stages, because during the production stage is one thing, and then when you're harvesting, you need a lot more labor to harvest because you want to take it out of the fields quickly. In the United States, as you rightfully said, they do use labor from Latin America and elsewhere to be able to get that done. At one point in time, Bahamians even went to the U.S. on the contract and others to harvest.
Maybe it's time for us to now provide that kind of contract work for Haitians and others. Who Haiti is a prime place because we're already having a lot of Haitians coming in seeking to get employment, and why not? Isn't the sensible thing to provide an annual contract for people to be able to come to work? The government will obviously be able to derive taxes from this and get rid of some of this nonsense. You're watching Nation Building. I'm your host, Winston Pinnock. We'll be right back after the break.
Hello, I'm Wendell Jones, and every time I sit down and I watch JCN television, I drink the Jamaica Bahama fruit juice. It's so pleasing to the palate.
I've been cooking Bahamian dishes for generations. I now use Jamaica Bahamas product. The rice is very fluffy, very tasty, and good eating. Jamaica Bahama product is simply the best.
As an insurance agent, my life is go, go, go. But whenever I need a refreshing break, it's Jamaica Bahamas Island Mixed Fruit Drink. Good.
Hi, I'm Debbie Bartlett from GEMS 105.9 FM. The effect that Island Junkanoo Juice Medley has on me is Exhilarating.
Hello.
Did you get it?
Yes, baby. I got it.
Don't come home without it.
These arms of mine, they are yearning for wanting you.
Where is it?
Strongback is distributed by Jamaica Bahamas Import and is available at your favorite food or convenience store nationwide. For more information, call 341-4091 in Nassau and 351-8282 in Freeport.
I've been a customer for the past 2 years, and I will say the quality of the service is very good. During my trip to Andros, I was connected the entire trip. So that was really good. I was able to contact my family members and let them know how the trip was going. We touched land, we're here. So it was very good. And I really appreciate that. And also during times like when we had the storm, it was really good to have that service to reach out to our loved ones to make sure everyone is okay. And I really appreciate Alive for that. And even when there's a little technical difficulty, they always send out a little text message to let us know exactly what's going on. I'm happy to be alive, and I believe in best.
Welcome back to Nation Building. I'm your host, Winston Pinnock. Today we're privileged to have with us a cabinet minister from the Minister Administration, Mr. Renward Wells, who's the Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources. Mr. Wells, picking up on the point that we left off before the break, dealing with this whole concept of tooling farmers, I have, in my own experience, appreciated the fact that we have sufficient Bahamians who are willing and interested in farming as businessmen.
Yes.
And you accepted the notion that government should look at avenues such as we discussed to be able to allow these farmers in Grand Bahama and the rest of the Bahamas to be able to acquire the labor that they need. The big problem is there's a lot of talk on programs like these in Parliament and so on, pronouncements from government, but nothing happens. So are you willing to say to farmers in the country, ideas like these and others that are workable and that are needed to actually get things moving, are you willing to commit to them today that you will, in forums like you're creating with the, you meeting the farmers, having a show, come together, conference, conclave, are you willing to actually get movement on these issues in the next few months?
Very much so. And I'd say it this way, Brother Pinnock, as I said before, I believe we have a lot of illegal labor that's available in the country right now that we can source if necessary. But what I want the farmers to understand is this, and the Bahamian people to understand who would be interested in farming on the labor side as well as being the owner. Government has created a database, and we're adding people to our database through the National Training Agency of all who would want to work. That's a part of the Ministry of Labor. Before you can actually employ someone outside the country to bring them in, the process is you have to apply for a labor certificate. So a farmer who wants 10 persons to work, right? He says, listen, I can't find Bahamians to work. He has to first go to the Ministry of Labor and say, here's my application for 10 persons who I believe who are not citizens of the Bahamas, who I want to work on my farm. The Ministry of Labor then looks at that and says, well, we got John Doe or Susie Q who are interested in farming. Can you contact them? If the farmer contacts them and John Doe and Susie Q say, man, I won't work, okay? you are issued that labor certificate to
They
for
won't do
those
no
persons.
farming,
They
which
won't do
is
no
more-
farming. Okay.
more-
So you are issued that labor certificate. Once you get that labor certificate, you now go to the Ministry of Immigration, the Immigration Department, and say, here's my labor certificate for Mr. Pierre, Miss Chavez, whoever it is that you're bringing in. You pay your fee, and they're off to the races working on the farm.
But Minister,
and so
you know that it doesn't work that simple. The Department of Immigration is so slow, so lethargic. I mean, farmers have complained and other industry stakeholders have complained that it just simply takes too long to get processes done. And so can't you set up a system where once the farmer meets the criteria, immigration is bound, providing that they meet the criteria, within a quick time. I see the government is doing a similar thing with the tech industry that it's seeking to do in Grand Bahama. Can't the same thing apply to agriculture?
That, but Brother Pennock, we're doing that across the board in immigration. There's a revolution taking place in immigration. We're changing the immigration department. We want, within a matter of weeks, for you to be able to get your response. And we're working on that. The Minister of Immigration, Brad Simonet, is making that happen. And folks are very positive. This is a part of the change that has taken place over the past year. And like I said, once you see that individual would have gotten that labor certificate, they would have met all the requirements necessary now. There's nothing that can stand in their way. Not even the minister, unless someone has a criminal record of which the Department of Immigration can say. But once you would have gotten that labor certificate, you have passed a major hurdle in being able to get that person on the farm.
And that also
we'll
stamps out corruption in the system as well.
It does. We have sought to stamp out corruption. We've sought to bring in a digital system. So when Mr. Pennock comes and said, listen, I'm putting in my application today, Tuesday, Miss Brown, who's sitting behind the queue, puts in that information. She has a digital ID. She's put in that information. We know Mr. Pennock put that in on Tuesday. Mr. Pennock is seeking an answer in about a week or two. The system is going to prompt the decision makers. Why haven't you made a decision on this? So Brother Pennock can come in and check and say, who has my file? Why you got my file? And the leadership is able to look at that and say, well, why are you holding up on Brother Pennock's file? What do you? So as you say, it stamps out corruption. It moves the process forward, and it doesn't cause my aide who would come in after Mr. Pennock, who would want to grease the wheels to be able to get ahead of Mr. Pennock, unless there was some fundamental issue as to why Mr. Pennock should have what he has.
I hope on behalf of the Bahamian people that the system is going to work just as you said, and we'll hold you accountable and bring you back if we get complaints that it's not working.
Sure.
Let's move on to another agricultural issue. Talking about food security and benefiting the Bahamian people, which is what you're there to do.
Sure.
We, for decades, have been importing things like mangoes, bananas, you name it, agricultural produce that comes from South America, Caribbean countries, and we've been importing them through the United States. Why, Minister, governments have failed so miserably to take this middleman off the backs of the Bahamian people? What sense does it make for me to buy a banana that is being transshipped, or a mango or whatever, through the U.S., through a distributor, who then sells it to a wholesaler, who then sells it to the food store that I'm buying from? What nonsense is it? I've heard the ministry technocrats talk about disease and all these other things, and I'm saying the same system, it seems to me and other well-thinking people, that the same process that the foods, these agricultural produce, has to go through to enter the U.S., can't we simply require the same thing to be done here? Why not cut out the middleman and provide a relief for the Bahamian people?
You're speaking exactly to what I spoke to, that some folks in social media and in the country would have given us some flack for when the Prime Minister had a bilateral meeting down in Haiti. It's the exact same issue, and we said then, listen, the Haitians are being allowed to send their stuff into the United States and we repurchase it. What we're going to do is put in place exactly what you have said. All we need to do on our side is to ensure ourselves that the phytosanitary requirements are being met, and obviously they're being met because it's going into the United States, and we're going to open up the market for an opportunity for persons to be able to...
When will that happen?
Well, we're in the process of doing it. We're trying to get it done before the end of the year. So remember, we said that... the Prime Minister had made an agreement with the President of Haiti that this year we're going to see to it that those things are done. And so my department is ensuring that those things take place. We have a new authority that was established, BASFRA, the Bahamas Agricultural Health and Food Safety Authority. It is on the level of the US FDA, the exact same agency. It's a requirement for WTO, but more so it's a requirement for our own food,
for health reasons.
Food, and
security,
so it's being populated now. It was passed, the bill was passed last year in the House of Assembly under the former administration. They had only brought in one individual, which was the chairman at the time, to be able to start populating that agency. We have now hired, well, we are in the process of hiring all of the directors, the one for plant health, the one for animal health, and the one for food safety, the executive directors. All that is being done here in the next 2 weeks. And then we're going to populate that agency. And that's why I said within a couple of months, we will be in a position where we're able to do just that. We're able to issue those phytosanitary certificates for and on behalf of the Bahamian people, but more importantly, we're also going to be able to issue the phytosanitary certificates so that we can continue to export to Europe and to the United States and elsewhere. So that is in the works.
Wonderful, and that's good. But at the end of the year is still some significant months away, and so my encouragement to you, sir, is if you can, on behalf of the Bahamian people, see how
we can speed up the process.
Speed that process up,
sure.
Because again, it's all about the cost of food and trying to. What is the government doing in helping to? Hear a lot of talk these days about eating healthy and the cost of eating healthy. Many of our people just simply can't afford. What is the government's approach to encourage and to help that? Whether it has to do with tariffs, lowering tariffs, or any other. Is there a plan from the Minister administration?
Yes, and I'll answer that question, but I want to go back to what we were discussing earlier so that the Bahamian people can get a full appreciation and why I also said it might take till the end of the year. A part of the phytosanitary requirements is also transshipment. We don't have shipping containers between us and Haiti. There's no way where there's no freight ship that actually leaves Haiti right now that meet our requirements, meaning that from the Haitian president's farm, he actually exports into Europe, where he can take a 40-foot container, his bananas are washed, secured, put inside there. That goes on to that 40-foot container goes on to a ship that comes directly from Haiti to the Bahamas. The shipping that we have between Haiti and the Bahamas is these small little vessels. And so what the government is looking at, and there are some persons who are interested in getting a real transshipment route going between the Bahamas and Haiti, where you can put legitimate freezer containers on that will roll onto the ship and roll off into Nassau. And we're seeking to get that done, not just with there,
and I would
but with
say,
Jamaica
and I would say, and I would say, if I have the authority to, which I do, put a plug in for the mailboat company here, that we have local Bahamians like the mailboat operators who would be happy to be able to provide service. And so not only are we making food cheaper for the Bahamian people, we're providing opportunities and jobs
for them to grow,
for the country and for our citizens to grow. And so there's so much benefit to this.
Yes.
And so on behalf of the Bahamian people, let me ask you to hasten your government's approach to providing relief for our people.
Sure.
Before we go today, Minister, I know you're a man of faith, and when you were here the last time, you made a commitment that under no circumstances would your party leader, if he becomes prime minister, or anyone in leadership, be able to move the country in direction that is conflicting with the principles, the foundation of the nation and the Christian values and so forth. Yeah. Are you holding your government and the prime minister feet to the fire and ensuring that we proceed on that path?
Around the cabinet table, I am as I was when I wasn't around the cabinet table. I'd say that we haven't had, we've had one issue that has come up that I have not spoken on, because you take a role in the cabinet not to really speak on issues outside of the cabinet, though some of my cabinet ministers have taken, my cabinet colleagues have taken the opportunity to do so. But at the end of the day, I have very firm and foundational commitments to the Christian faith, and I still hold those. I was one of 2 persons in the House of Assembly who stood up at the last time and voted against and voted my conscience in regards to the gender equality bills and others. And the Bahamian people would see from my votes on gaming to gender equality to other issues where I perceive that the nation is moving in a direction that is not in keeping with our moral mores and where the Lord would have us to be.
And so you've heard the minister. You can hold him. For those of you who are people of faith and value those things, you can hold them accountable, because word has it that there are a number of things that the WTO and other organizations, world organizations, are pushing for us to make some shift on. That's happening in the Caribbean as well. And so it's going to be interesting, Minister, to see what happens over the next few months. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and talk with us. Well, really, to talk to the Bahamian people. On behalf of all of the crew here at Nation Building, it's been a pleasure for us to bring you this broadcast today. Thank you, and stay tuned for next edition right here on Nation Building. Have a great week.
Hello, I'm Wendell Jones, and every time I sit down and I watch JCN television, I drink the Jamaica Bahama fruit juice. It's so pleasing to the palate.
I've been cooking Bahamian dishes for generations. I now use Jamaica Bahamas product. The rice is very fluffy, very tasty, and good eating. Jamaica Bahama product is simply the best.
As an insurance agent, my life is go, go, go. But whenever I need a refreshing break, it's Jamaica Bahamas Island Mixed Fruit Drink. Good.
Hi, I'm Debbie Bartlett from Gems 105.9 FM. The effect that Island Junkanoo Juice medley has on me is exhilarating.
I've been a customer for the past 2 years, and I will say the quality of the service is very good. During my trip to Andros, I was connected the entire trip, so that was really good. I was able to contact my family members and let them know how the trip was going. We touched land, we're here, so it was very good, and I really appreciate that. And also during times like when we had the storm, it was really good to have that service to reach out to our loved ones to make sure everyone is okay. And I really appreciate Alive for that. And even when there's a little technical difficulty, they always send out a little text message to let us know exactly what's going on. I'm happy to be alive, and I believe in best.
Hello.
Did you get it?
Yes, baby. I got it.
Don't come home without it.
These arms of mine, they are yearning for wanting you.
Where is it?
Strongback is distributed by Jamaica Bahamas Import and is available at your favorite food or convenience store nationwide. For more information, call 341-4091 in Nassau and 351-8282 in Freeport.
Who said you can't get great quality products at an affordable price? If you want the best quality food products at the most affordable prices, you must pick up the Jamaica Bahama brand of fine quality products at your favorite food store. Products like Jamaica Bahama Coconut Water, the most healthy and refreshing drink on the market. Jamaica Bahama Fruit Punch, the only fruit punch in the Bahamas made from real fruit. Jamaica Bahama coconut milk, green pigeon peas with coconut milk, condensed milk, kidney beans with coconut milk, corned beef, green pigeon peas, mackerel, and corn. Jamaica Bahamas' fine line of products is available at all your favorite food stores and convenience stores nationwide. Telephone 351-8282 in Freeport and 341-4091 in Nassau.
I don't wanna wait. No, no, I don't wanna wait.
The concierge service is the best thing ever. Like, it is so fabulous, especially for someone like me where I cannot leave my office, my job to go do anything in the middle of the day because I'm on the radio. The service was so fabulous. The ladies gave me a call. They set up an appointment. They come with their professional looking attire. They're just so cute. And they come here, and it was a great experience. It took 20 minutes to switch over to the Alive service. It was simple. It was easy. And they just made me feel so welcomed. They explained everything. They hooked me up with my new phone. They gave me my data package. As you can see, hey. And it was fabulous. It was a wonderful service, but what I really liked best about it was not only did they come here and make it easy for me, but they continued to check up on me. The next day, they made sure that everything was working properly with the phone. I didn't have any issues. The following week, they contacted me again, and I've built a relationship with them. They've continued to check up on me. I feel like I'm part of the Alive family. It's amazing.